We are live on day 296, and our guest today is Matthew Bird. Matthew, welcome.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks for having me. Good to see you again.
You are one of the premier watercolorists. What are you going to do for us today?
Today I'm going to be doing a study of a pomegranate and doing some wet into wet washes to build up form and color, and hopefully it'll be a fun little demo.
Now you're a how would you describe yourself? I would say you're very tight watercolorist. You know, oftentimes we see watercolor where you've got the bleed going on and the blossoms and so on, and it looks like you've got very strong control over your watercolors.
Yes, I'm often confused with an oil painter. People think, they're like, that's watercolor? Yes, it's watercolor. Just because I get a lot of little darks and lots of detail and control, as you said.
So yeah, what's that behind you there? That it looks like, is that one of your watercolors behind you there in that frame?
Yep. So that's a watercolor that I just varnished yesterday, actually. So I can display it without glass. And
that's exciting.
That's what I'll be, not that painting, a different painting, but I'll be talking about that for Watercolor Live.
Oh, and how to varnish paintings and so you don't have to. Oh, that'll be exciting. Good. So why don't we get right into your demo? And what I'll do is I'll answer questions from the comments, and I'll mention where people are coming in from. There's Hazel from New Zealand, for instance. And also, I should just mention to you guys that we have a prize today. The winner of the plein air apron is Vanya Vieros from Massachusetts. I'm sorry, I probably butchered your name, Vanya. And today I'm giving away my book, Make More Money Selling Your Art. That will be for comments. And so go into the comments, tell us where you're from, and then we will pick not only from the live, but also from the replay, and you'll get a chance to win. Matthew, let's get right into it.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
So this is where I've got my background started already. So this is all dry. You don't have to hear me blowing a hairdryer, and I can just get into the good stuff here.
Do you want to just give us a brief overview of what you did with your background?
Yep. So I've masked out my fruit here with masking fluid, which is a product that you can paint on. It's like a liquid masking tape almost. It's like a resist, so it preserves the white of the paper.
Right.
I'm sure we have all different skill levels watching, so I don't want to bore people too much, but with traditional transparent watercolor, I don't have a white paint. So any whites that I have, it's the paper showing through my transparent washes. So preserving those whites are really important. So I masked out the fruit and did my background wet into wet. I like a real dark background a lot of times in my still lifes, really a Dutch Flemish inspired traditional still life. And traditionally watercolorists will work light to dark. So it's a little unusual to go so dark right in the beginning, but just the way my mind works, I like to have those dark values in place so I can play the color against it and make sure I'm getting the right value and color when I go in for my detail work. And I work wet into wet. So I've got blue over here behind these pomegranates. And let me bring up my reference photo so you can see what we're going to be looking at. So it really accentuated the blue because I just want that contrast with the red. I think that'll make a nice nice composition. The other thing, so after I did the background, I pulled the mask up and exposed the paper. One of the things that I wanted to point out that's a little different from what you might have seen before is I'm working on a paper that is on an ACM panel. So it's 2 sheets of aluminum, very light, very thin.
What kind? What is that? Is that something you pick up in the stores? What's it called?
Yep, Raymar makes this. It's
okay.
It's traditional Fabriano watercolor paper on aluminum composite material.
Oh, that's a new thing, and it's pretty cool.
It is a new thing. I helped them develop it, and I really like working on it because the paper doesn't warp or buckle. You know, traditionally you have to stretch watercolor paper and then either staple it or tape it down, and this just kind of cuts out that step.
Yeah, well, you can also put it in a frame much easier too.
Exactly. Yep. I varnish them and then pop them right into a frame and don't have to worry about glass and cutting a mat and such. So I'm going to put out some color here. Normally my palette looks like this, just a mess of grays, but I cleaned up this side so that
was very nice of you.
I would be a professional. Try to be a professional artist.
All right.
So I'm playing around with some different cadmiums here and pyrrole. And my brush here is a synthetic squirrel hair. This is made by Skoda. It's just a small mop that really holds a lot of water. And I'm going to start doing this one. And so just to point out, after I removed my mask here, I have gone in, and this is what the bottle of mask that I'm using is from Daniel Smith. I have masked again this highlight, and down here you can see I had mask where I was working on the table in the shadow. So
that's a colored mask. It's got a slight bit of color to it.
A slight color to it. There's other brands like PBO that have a bluish tint, which are it's a great masking fluid as well.
We learned the other day you can add your own tint to it as well.
Yes, I've heard of that, and if you get the right color, that can be really good. It's always you got to test it, of course, because you don't want to stain the paper.
Yeah.
So clean water. I'm just going to go in.
So you're laying water down first.
Yep.
Is it thick or thin?
It's pretty washy. I'm getting it pretty wet.
Okay. And what kind of Fabriano paper is it? Is it cold pressed or?
Oh, good question. I work on cold press usually.
Cold pressed. Okay. Hello, Tunisia. Welcome.
Now, I did not go all the way up to the edge because since I do have this dark here, I want to be real careful about not reactivating that. So that takes some.
Can you put a resist or over something that's already painted? So if you wanted to keep it preserved, or would that pull up the paint?
You can. It's a little trickier, but it definitely can be done. It has a lot to do with how thick the paint is. Like I wouldn't want to do that here, but I could do it down here probably, no problem.
Okay. Hello, Dubai. Welcome. All right.
So right now I'm mixing up a carmine, which is a PR176 pigment, which I think will be a nice dark on this shadowy side.
You said it's a PR176. Nobody knows what that means. What does that mean?
That's a secret code, Eric.
No,
it's not. It's each pigment has its own number. So when you have, different manufacturers make their paints differently, but you can on all of them, you can look on the side, and it'll tell you exactly what the pigment is that is. Whether it's a single pigment paint or multiple pigments combined to kind of shortcut to get to a color.
Do you have a preference?
I know there's purists that only use single pigment. Most of my palette is single pigment, but I'm not opposed to shortcut colors.
All right. So this is PR176.
This is carmine. Yep. This is a Daniel Smith pigment.
Wow, you have a steady hand.
Yeah, you want to be careful, like I said, but it just comes with practice. Now I'm going to drop in a little bit different value here. Still pretty intense.
Hard to
So
tell
this
on
is all
camera.
going to get much darker. So I'm going to be glazing over this to bring this to a much darker value on the shadow side.
Somebody asked what kind of varnish you use.
I use golden products, spray archival gloss to seal the paint onto the surface, and then there's various varnishes you can put on top of that to get a different sheen if you like.
So you can use a traditional varnish once you've sealed it.
Correct. Whether it's acrylic based or mineral spirit based, either way. And then you can, it's all subjective as far as what sort of, if you want a satin look or a high gloss or a matte, just kind of have to play around with it and see what you like.
All right.
So I'm adding in some CAD light to warm this up on this side. I think I got a couple flecks here. Dark that I don't want, so I'm gonna scrub that a little bit. Get a stiffer synthetic brush and work this a little bit so I don't want that there. Blot it with a paper towel.
Yeah. Hello, Ireland. Somebody said there's a YouTube video of varnishing on your website.
There is, yes. And I will be, if you're just joining us, I'll be doing a more elaborate talk and demonstration on my process at Watercolor Live.
I put your website up. It's matthewbird.com. So you're going to do an extensive still life and varnishing and whole 9 yards on Watercolor Live. Cool.
Yes, I varnish a full sheet painting, 30 by 22. So one of the big ones.
Now you are an officer with one of the watercolor associations. Do you want to tell us about that?
National Watercolor Society in California. They are currently getting ready to do our member show. So the entries are open for that on the website. It's a great organization and a great way to network. And
yeah. Well, you and I met.
All had to adapt to the online environment these days. So
yeah. Well, we had a meeting. I'm trying to remember where it was. Was it in San Francisco or was it the year before?
It was, yeah.
San Francisco. Okay. So we talked about this vision for creating a watercolor conference, and you were very supportive and encouraging and now involved. So I want to thank you. This wouldn't have happened without you.
Oh, well, it's a passion of mine, and there's so many people out there that are working in watercolor. Kind of anything I can do to contribute to that and raise the medium, raise awareness.
I don't know if you know this yet, but so far Watercolor Live is the largest online virtual conference we've done. It has exceeded all of our others. I think I haven't seen today's numbers, but we're almost at 1,600 people.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, domestically or internationally, it's a huge.
Yeah, we have people from all over the world, over the world signed up.
Really big in Asia and India.
Yeah, some great watercolorists there.
somebody from India was taking my workshop, and she was having to get up at like 5 a.m. God bless her.
Yeah. Well, we have people watching this right now in places like Egypt and Saudi Arabia. It's in the middle, you know, very, very different time zones. So it's really terrific.
One of the great things of the internet, bringing us all together.
You guys make sure you tell us where you're watching from. In the comments, you have a chance to win my book, Make More Money Selling Your Art. Hey, Belize. Welcome, Belize. I think one thing nice, hello, Pakistan. One thing nice about this conference, Watercolor Live, is that you can find a lot of different approaches and styles in watercolor. Before I created this, I didn't realize how many different approaches there were.
Yeah, it's really exploded. The kind of traditional idea of what watercolor should look like, quote unquote, has kind of been blown to smithereens. So many people are working and doing just incredible things with the water media.
Yep. Hey, Norway, Scotland, Hawaii, thank you. Great Britain.
So just to go back to the masking that I was talking about, which you can still see, this highlight is preserved. That white of the paper is so important with transparent because we don't have white paint. And one of the ways that I've tried to describe watercolor to people that aren't quite familiar with how it works is using a sculpture analogy, because it's really a subtractive medium where we're removing the white and adding dark. You can't go back, relatively speaking, you can't go back to that white once it's gone. So it's like sculpting in marble. You know, if you're sculpting a bust and you chisel off too much of the nose, it's not really going back on.
Yeah, that's right.
Whereas with oil or acrylic, if that's more like sculpting with clay. You can add, it's additive. You have opaque and white paint, so you can just wipe out and keep going. So it's a little more forgiving, perhaps.
So what you're doing right now is a build up layer over layer. Is that correct?
Correct. I haven't really let this dry, so it's not exactly glazing wet over dry, but I am definitely building up and really keeping in mind the warm side of this pomegranate and how it's going to come around and get cooler. And one of the things I tell my students is knowing when to hold up and let it dry, because it can be easy to overwork your paper, overwork the surface, and
too much water.
Yeah, well, it starts the paper fiber can start to, you know, just get tired, and like you gotta let it dry and before you muddy things up too much.
All right.
And that comes with experience.
Hello, Germany, Philippines, Nova Scotia. Man, you're drawing them in, Matthew.
Well, that's wonderful. Welcome,
Sudan.
everyone.
Welcome, Sudan. That's the first for Sudan that I've seen. UK, Peter in UK. What color will you use to create the dark? Asks Anita.
You saw just there, I was kind of just pulling from some of the gray slop I have on my palette. But ultramarine, French ultramarine will probably be a great help to push that dark where I want it to be. So okay. Let's do that now.
Somebody who tuned in late asked, how did you prevent from bleeding into the background? And what was your answer on that? You used
like right here?
Yeah.
So everything was preserved with masking fluid when I did a wet into wet background wash.
And the background is dry.
So once the background is dry, what I'm doing coming in here is just, you know, careful brush work and control to not reactivate it. You can go up to the edge. I mean, I'm not going to go and like just scrub at it, because that would reactivate the pigment, and it would start to blend, which I do sometimes. It can be nice.
Somebody asked, how do you keep it wet all this time?
Constant vigilance. I'm just moving around to different spots. So over here it's starting to dry. So I think I will bring this dark around.
Somebody asked, does the paper need to stay wet as you glaze?
Working wet into wet, it does, yes. So if you look here, this paper is still damp. So the edge that I'm just putting down here is not super crisp and flat. It's got a little bit of a bleed to it. Whereas over here, it bled a lot more because the paper was much more wet. And it comes with practice and just knowing, you know, how wet the paper surface is to know what the paint's going to do when you put it down. So I'm going to stop on that one and let that dry a little bit.
All right.
This is a clean brush. I'm just smoothing it out a little bit. But once I do more layers, it'll all come together more and more.
In case you missed it, Matthew is painting on a Raymar panel with Fabriano cold press paper attached to it. It's an aluminum panel.
Yeah, it's real thin, very lightweight. So again, on this pomegranate, I have masking fluid down here and here on this little seed that came out, or the fruit. So that was there when I was just painting the tabletop. And now I'm going to pull it off with, you can use a rubber cement pickup or just your finger, really, but it comes up pretty easy.
What brand of color are you using?
Most of my palette is Daniel Smith. I also use Sennelier and Core. Daniel Smith paints are traditional. The gum arabic as the pigment binder, which is the traditional binder. Sennelier uses honey.
That way you can eat your paint, right? Spread it on your toast.
Just don't eat the cads.
Don't eat the cads, that's right.
The honey paint doesn't dry in your paint wells the same way gum arabic does, so it reactivates very, very quickly with a touch of a brush.
Which deactivates quickly, the honey or the gum arabic?
Honey based.
Okay.
So Sennelier, M. Graham also makes honey based watercolor. And a little goes a long way.
Judy asked what you used to mount the paper on the substrate. It came mounted.
Right. This came already done, so it just saves me that step. And I talk about this at Watercolor Live, if I paint just on watercolor paper and I finish the painting and then mount it, there's a way to do that too. I use a soft gel gloss as an archival way to do that.
If you guys are planning on coming to Watercolor Live and you haven't signed up yet, you could save $300 if you sign up by the 20th, which I think is, what is that, Sunday?
No,
it's it's Wednesday. It's Inauguration Day. My dad's birthday.
Oh.
He'll be 94. Hello, Austria. Austria asked, do you also use opaque colors?
No. There are some pigments that are sort of semi-opaque, but I use no opaque. It's a transparent medium. You could combine watercolor and gouache. Lots of people do that.
Do you ever do any plein air painting?
I do, especially when I'm at Pace, but I'm not really known for that.
Was San Francisco your first experience going to Pace?
It was, yes.
So tell people what that was like, because a lot of people don't even know about it. I don't talk about it very much.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. I mean, you guys put on quite an operation. I was very impressed. The number of people all being there. I think one of the things I love the most is the camaraderie, getting together with other artists. No matter what you paint or how you paint, it's just a lot of fun to be all
So
together.
for those,
and the number of the incredible talent that is on the stage and teaching is, you can't really. I don't know of another place where you can find that kind of thing all in one place for 3 days or whatever it was.
I think 4 days. So the plein air convention has stages typically for watercolor, pastel, oil, and oftentimes we blend them into other mediums as well, gouache and acrylic and so on. And then we do indoor training. It's like 4 days. We go out half days or quarter days and go painting together, which is a lot of fun too. We were all standing out at the Golden Gate Bridge. There probably were close to 1,000 of us painting. It was really quite an experience.
Yep.
You have a lot of patience, my friend.
Yes.
This takes patience to do this kind of painting.
It does. I'm a very slow painter.
That's all right.
But
you don't seem that slow to me.
I'm trying to keep this interesting. But what I'm doing now is same thing on this side. I wet with clean water, and now I'm just dropping in color.
So that's pretty important to make sure you keep your water clean. Yes.
Yes, I have. I don't know. It's probably a gallon of water in 2 different containers. So one I keep clean, and the other is my rinsing.
Somebody told us the other day they use distilled water because it won't develop mold long term.
Well, I know I'm a slow painter, but I'm not that slow.
I don't think we mean mold while you're painting.
That's interesting. I haven't heard that before. I use just tap water.
Hello from Pune, India. Somebody says, I hope the plein air convention continues this year. I was looking forward to participating last year, and I would love to meet so many folks in this community who we've met virtually, plus an awesome week away from reality with like-minded, passionate folks learning and creating. Well, we hope so too, Jeff. We just don't know. I mean, we're planning on having it, but we're going to have to kind of wait and see what happens with this virus. It's not till May. The early bird price expires on Valentine's Day, so you save $500 if you get in before that. And of course, we refund your money if you can't make it. How long will this session last? We're going to be on till the top of the hour, till 5 minutes till the top of the hour, another 30 minutes, 25 minutes.
I'll share a photo of this, when I finish it, because I definitely can't do it in an hour. Sorry. I often go back and forth, jump around a painting while I'm waiting for one area to dry. I'll jump over to something else.
Diane says that the Margaret Best, the botanical painter, uses distilled water in Canada. That's because they have more mold in Canada. Just kidding. Don't write letters.
Now you've done it.
It's very easy to offend people. I don't mean to, ever.
I just
Let's see.
read
Can you specify exactly where we can see the finished piece afterwards? Bertram, it will be, Matthew will post it. If you go back to the replay of this later today, when he finishes it, or whenever he's done with it today, tonight, whatever, he'll post it in here. And because you made comments in here, if he posts it, it'll come up to you as, you know, a comment. So you'll be able to see it.
So I'm also looking at this and keeping in mind that there is going to be reflected light from the table that bounces up onto the underside here. Likewise, this top little corner here is going to get some reflection from this pomegranate. So this little area is going to get real hot. So even in the early stages, I'm thinking about that. And
okay.
So this is just a clean brush. It's slightly damp, and I'm going to lift.
You're lifting.
I'm lifting some paint out.
Okay. Welcome to somebody else from India. A lot of people from UK today. If you guys are enjoying this, give him a thumbs up or a heart or a like or something. And if you think other people would enjoy it, make sure to hit the share button. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can hit the like button there, but also hit the subscribe button. YouTube is where you'll find all 296 days of these demos. I mean, it's like a college education, probably more so. And plus, you know, we're on every day at 3 p.m. Doing a art instruction video samples. And today at 3 p.m., our guest will be Cynthia Rosen, who's revealing her new video, Still Life Painting with a Palette Knife. You want to make sure you see that.
Cool.
So that's at 3 p.m. today. If you are an Instagrammer, Matthew, what's your Instagram handle?
It's Matthew Bird with underscores at the beginning and end.
So underscore Matthew Bird?
Yep. Underscore.
Okay. All right. Mine is just Eric Rhodes, RHOADS, no E.
So here you see I've got the foundation laid in here where I've got a real high chroma reflection coming off this pomegranate, and down here I added in a little bit of cerulean blue to get that light that's bouncing up off the table on the underside.
Okay.
And I'll just continue to build that up as I work these layers up. And this one's getting to the point where I need to stop messing with it and let it dry. Which means I can go over here. I use the back of my hand to tell how dry it is. You really want it bone dry. And for some reason, the back, I can just, the paper is very cool. If it's at all damp, I can feel coolness, and I know that it's not quite ready. More cad yellow light. And that's medium, actually. Sorry. So this is wet on dry now. So I can get a little bit of the texture. Having my brush kind of jump and skip around on the surface, leaving gaps and spaces.
And you're painting right over the masking fluid, right?
Correct. So this paint is not super wet. It's a bit of a dry brush technique to help with that texture a little bit. You see it skipping around.
So you've got no water on that brush?
It's very, very minor.
Yeah.
Just slightly damp.
This is fun. I like seeing this. I am so excited about learning watercolor.
It's a great medium. I love the luminosity. And you know, the other thing that I really like is I can kind of jump in and out of it pretty quick without a lot of cleanup or setup. I got young kids, so it's a luxury to have hours and hours all at once to be able to paint. So being able to just
Yeah, I remember those days.
get 20 minutes here or there is nice. No solvents.
What age are your kids?
They are 7 and 9.
Oh, what a great time.
Yeah. They're also a great
right.
model.
That's before they start talking back.
Oh boy.
Everybody always told me, you know, it's going to happen. It goes by very fast, and I never believed it. And then my kids graduated high school and went off to college, and it seemed like a blink of an eye.
Yeah, I remember meeting your youngest, I think, in San Francisco.
Yes, you met one of
them.
my sons. Yeah. I think 2 of my kids, maybe 3 of them, are going to come with me to the Plein Air convention this year because they get out of school early.
Oh.
And 2 of them were jealous their one brother got to go. So we'll see. They'll criticize me, though. They'll say, Dad, don't make those corny jokes on stage.
You tell them that's part of your brand.
Yeah, bad jokes. Bad jokes are my brand.
So I just grabbed some neutral tint there to just kind of shortcut this dark, so I can keep this moving.
Ooh. You just got to keep layering and layering to get those darks to get darker, don't you?
That's how I tend to do it. I think the real pros can just come in and hit the right color every time, but I like to build it up.
I think you're a real pro.
Takes a little longer, but in the end, you know, it's transparent watercolor, so all those layers are working together to create that beautiful luminosity. Now over here on this side, it's going to be the same thing as far as the reflected light bouncing up. It's just not as obvious.
Yeah, you really have to learn to see that, though. When I first started painting, people talked about reflected light, and I couldn't see it. You know, sometimes it's very subtle.
Yep. Now I'm looking at my reference, and I'm seeing that this value shift happens really abruptly. It goes from really dark to kind of a mid-value high chroma red-orange there. So I want to try to capture that and not have it be too gradual, because that'll aid in sort of conveying the different flat, round, bumpy sides of this pomegranate. You know, it's not a perfect sphere. It's got some character. So
somebody said, when you post your images, would you please post some close-ups as well?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so Melissa says, tell us more about the use of masking fluid. I've never had success with it. What's the key?
Oh boy,
Practice.
I've got quite the spiel I go through in my workshops, because it can be a real struggle. So I understand, Melissa, what you're saying. There's kind of two different kinds. You have a masking fluid that's basically white, dries white, and then you have some that's tinted, and we mentioned that earlier, or you can tint it yourself. The nice thing about the tint is you can see where you've applied it, but some brands tend to leave a faint stain on the paper, which I don't particularly like. So if you're using the white masking fluid, you run the risk of not really seeing everything, and you think you have everything masked, but you might have missed a spot, and you just can't really tell because it's white and not just the paper. So kind of pick your trade-off. You need to make sure your mask is fresh. It definitely ages, and if you're working with older fluid, it's not going to come off the paper real well.
Okay.
You want to make sure you don't heat up if it's dried on there, you don't really want to use a hot hair dryer or bake it in the sun or anything, because then it'll be hard to get off the paper.
Somebody asked if your reference,
weeks and weeks either.
Yeah. Somebody asked if your reference is a photo or is it a live reference?
This one's a photo.
Okay.
Although this would be the kind of thing I could do live.
Somebody asked if this is oil painting. No, this is watercolor, if you just tuned in. Hard to believe it's Friday already. Man, this week went by.
Sure did. I don't know about you, Eric, but my days just seem to feel the same over and over.
Yeah, we
don't get out, you know, we're not doing a whole lot these days.
It's called like Groundhog Day, right?
Yeah. Well, like I hear the trash coming, I'm like, oh, it's Wednesday. Shoot. We get the trash out.
Now, wait a minute. You're a world famous artist. You have to take out your own trash. Don't you have people who do that for you?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. It froze up for a second there. I was a little concerned.
Oh, I hope that's not on my end. You're working all right now?
Yep, everything's fine now. Guys, day 300 is coming up. Well, this is 296. You can figure it out. If you have a special idea of what you want me to do on day 300, I'm still trying to figure it out. Put it in the comments. We could do something special on day 300. And I've put together a ton of really great prize packages for day 300. Today, you can win by putting something in the comments. You have a chance of winning the Make More Money Selling Your Art book. It's a 2 times Amazon bestseller, and really will help you with selling your art if you're trying to figure that out. Are you left-handed or is the video reversing?
No, I am left-handed. So I just threw in some little blotches here.
Just some texture.
Those will be the blemishes, yep.
There's another person, Iris, tuning in from Deutschland. Erstanklich Kernen. So Kernen is Cologne, I believe. Maybe Kern. I'm a little rusty on my German. Been there 40 times.
Wow.
I was married to a German woman for a long, long time.
That would explain it.
Good. I have nieces and nephews there. Somebody wants me to do a demo. No, Gabriel, I'm not going to do that. Thank you for asking, though. You can go to my paintbynote.com if you want to see a demo.
I've seen you paint. You could do a demo.
Yeah, but I want to make this show about everybody else, not about me.
So while that's drying, I'm going to jump up here and do a little bit in this, gosh, I don't know what you call it, the stem?
Kernen means skill. I thought it was like Kern, like cologne. So thank you, Iris, for that. Somebody said, where do you buy your left-handed brushes?
They're specially made by Skoda.
Yeah. I should mention to you guys, hang around before we finish, because I have an announcement, something we announced yesterday by email in case you missed it, pretty big. And also tell you how you can win a $7,000 painting. So that's pretty cool. Matthew, you're just blowing this away. This is fabulous.
You're very kind.
I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it.
I was a little nervous about doing this because I don't get a whole lot done in an hour or 45 minutes or whatever done. So hopefully it's interesting.
And nobody expects it. Nobody expects it. So Beverly asked about varnishing watercolor. You're going to do that on your Watercolor Live demo on Watercolor Live.
Yep.
So that's going to be pretty cool. I think that's a game changer. You know, Raymar putting these panels, these papers on panels, so it gives you a stiff surface to work outdoors or to frame, and then learning how to varnish it. You know, that's one of the big problems I hear about from watercolorists who want to go to plein air shows, is they don't want to carry all the glass with them and
right.
and the mats and so on. And this is a great way. I'll just show you guys real quickly. Well, I can. Here is, well, I don't have it framed, but show you a couple of pieces of Matthew's work. And but if you look, Matthew, can you put the other camera on real quickly so we can just see
the one
behind you? Yeah, so that there's no glass in that, and that's fabulous, and it really glows. All right, terrific. Okay, get back to work. I'm a slave driver.
I started getting into that because I really didn't like the glare of glass, and it's a little unconventional. Some of the purists don't really agree with it.
Well, I remember going to the Plein Air Painters of America show in Tahoe about, I don't know, probably 13, 14 years ago. And I think it was Mary Deloitte Arndt who had a watercolor with it was just framed. It was just varnished. And it just was so pleasing to see that. And it really made a big difference. And she said, you know, they sell much better for her in these shows. Because sometimes people are traveling, they're a little concerned about carrying glass home, and plus you get to see the richness of the color without the glare.
Yes, and those I don't know why, but galleries that I've talked to tend to prefer, no glass.
Yeah. Well, I think this is going to really, this trend is really helping the watercolor world. I mean, there's nothing wrong with framing under glass. I don't want to send that signal at all.
No, and I still frame, a lot of my work traditionally as well.
But there are some dealer biases that occur, and so that'll help for some dealers help overcome those biases. So we got about 5 minutes, Matthew. So
okay.
I know you don't have much time.
Well, let me see if I can take off that mask just so you can see what.
Get the magic.
Yeah, it's a little premature, but why not?
We got to live a little. You got to live boldly.
Let's see. There it is.
Now you're using like a rubber cement eraser.
Yep. Actually, the best thing to lift up mask is the mask itself. If you have like an old ball of it, it takes to itself really well. So really? There's the gleaming light of the paper. Now, it's a telltale sign you've used mask because those edges are so incredibly crisp. And what I will do is come back with a stiff synthetic and slightly damp, and just kind of give it a little zhuzh.
Just to soften that edge a little bit.
Soften the edge a little bit, yeah, make it look a little more natural.
The other thing, Matthew, somebody was talking about, the glass preserving, keeping the paint from fading. My understanding and talking to the manufacturers is that they've pretty much overcome that problem, that fading is something that occurred way back, but less so today than ever. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, there's a few things. I mean, the pigments are, amazing. The same pigments for oil. It's just the binder's different. So the old days, the pigment was inferior, and that was definitely an issue. But that's not the case any longer. I mean, watercolor is a more, delicate medium. So just by the nature of the binder and the way that it sits on the surface of the paper. But with proper varnishing, you get UV protection the same as museum glass.
What is the small brush you're using now?
So this is a stiff synthetic brush. It's just got nice spring to it, and I can just kind of work those paper fibers a little bit and make that so it doesn't look quite so unnatural.
Okay, I think you should come back on camera, but just hold it there for a second. Is there any way you can get your camera a little closer?
Sure, it might be a little shake.
That's all right. We don't mind a little shake. Ooh, wow. Nice. Excellent. How about some thumbs up and applause for Matthew Bird? Thumbs up and applause. Matthew has a website, matthewbird.com. And he has watercolor workshops. And so you make sure you visit there and check it out. And also Matthew is going to be part of Watercolor Live. Matthew, any final thoughts on that?
Well, I'm really excited about it. And the numbers you were talking about are amazing. So it's going to be great to have everybody there. And I'm happy to share all my tricks on varnishing and what I've learned over the years. So it'll be a fun time.
Well, we're excited about it. Nothing like this has happened in the watercolor world with this many great stars on stage together. Yep. It's virtual, so people can watch all over the world. We've got the ability to put people in small groups, and so they get to know each other, and then we paint together at the end of the day on the same subject, which is fun, and we have a cocktail party, and so it's a lot of fun. It's 100% refundable, so if you watch the first day and don't feel like you got the entire week's worth of content, if it's not been worth it, we'll refund your money, because we just know that you're going to have a great time. Matthew, we're really happy you're going to be a part of it. Thank you for doing that, and thank you for being here. Thumbs up and applause for Matthew Bird.
Thank you for inviting me. It's great seeing you, Eric. Thanks, everybody.
Did a great job. And Matthew will post the final painting once he's done with it. So thank you again, Matthew Bird. I want to tell you guys about a $7,000 painting that you can win. But first, I want you to watch this.
Have you ever wanted to learn to paint in watercolor but don't think you have the talent? Most master artists will tell you that painting is a skill anyone can learn. If you follow a process, you too can paint beautiful artwork. You could spend $3,000 or more to attend a live workshop or convention. Or you could learn from the world's finest for a fraction of the cost at Watercolor Live, the world's first virtual online art conference devoted to water media. 3 days of world-class artists demonstrating in portraiture, landscapes, still life, the human figure, cityscapes, color mixing, and more. Get to know other artists and instructors personally through our breakout sessions, and we'll even paint and draw together at the end of each day in the safety of your own home. Make new friends in our breakout sessions. Paint with hundreds of others. Get private access to our exclusive members group to become part of our community, and learn to take your artwork to a higher level. Watercolor Live, 3 full days of watercolor instruction from the world's best. January 28th to 30th. And for people who want to learn painting from scratch, start with our Beginner's Day on January 27th. Soon you'll be painting faces, people, flowers, scenery, objects, and other subjects. You'll see your artwork improve faster as you learn from top artists and instructors from all over the world. Make history as part of the world's first watercolor art conference. Sign up today and join the world as we learn art together from these amazing artists. Joseph Zbukvich, Linda Daly Baker, Jean Peterson, Mario A. Robinson, John Salmonen, Thomas W. Schaller, Suni Warren, Matthew Bird, Andy Evenson, Michael Holter, Pablo Rubin, Daniel Marshall, Lauren McCracken, Angus McEwen, Kim Minicello, Ian Stewart, Brenda Swenson, Keiko Tonabe, Stephen Zhang, Birgit O'Connor, Shuang Li, Antonio Masi, Larry Moore, Glenn Knowles, Denise Willing-Boer, Terry Denson, and Cheryl Fletcher-Coon. Why not use this time to learn a new skill so you can amaze your friends and family with your paintings? Watercolor Live, from the publishers of Plein magazine and American Watercolor. Sign up before January 24th and save up to $300 off the retail price.
It's got to be pretty cool. Hey, I just got in the mail my current issue of Fine Art Connoisseur, and it's thick. I mean, it's just a fabulous publication. You can get it at Barnes & Noble. Fine Art Connoisseur and Plein are both in Barnes & Noble, and Plein is the #1 art selling magazine in America. Surprises us, but we're really happy about it. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so we have a $7,000 painting that we're giving away, and we would love for you to enter to win it. This is a $7,000 Thomas Schaller painting, and it's absolutely beautiful. And you want to win it by going to paintinggiveaway.com. Just go there, put your information in. We're going to give it away during Watercolor Live. You don't need to be present to win, but we're going to give it away there. Reminder that today we have Cynthia Rosen, her brand new video, Still Life with Palette Knife. And this woman has no fear. She's going to teach you how she does this. And it's absolutely a lot of fun to see the energy. She just grabbed some objects and made the painting out of these objects. So it's palette knife painting. It's a brand new release. That's today at 3 o'clock. You don't want to miss that. And I want to mention that if you would give me a follow, that would be really helpful. I'm on Instagram, Eric Rhodes, RHOADS with no E. Follow me. That would be really terrific. We've been here day 296 days in a row since coronavirus began, and we continue. We're here because we want to help you. We want to help the artists. We want to that are out of the many hundreds of videos that we've produced. And of course, we're trying to get through this too. We want you to stay happy and upbeat and understand that fear is not going to be helpful to you. So we're here to try to be there for you every day, and 296 days now at 12 noon Eastern and at 3 p.m. Eastern, where we do video segments of art instruction videos. And at 12 noon, it's usually an artist live every day. If you are watching this for the first time, we would love for you to to visit and get our free video. It's called 97 Amazing Tips from the World's Leading Artists, and you can get it on DVD for free or for instant streaming. Just go to 97tips.com. Remember, we're here daily at 12 noon. If you like watercolor, you're going to like American Watercolor, which is our weekly publication edited by Kelly Kane, who's the former editor of Watercolor magazine. You can subscribe free at americanwatercolor.net/subscribe. So make sure you do a screenshot of that so that you can subscribe to American Watercolor. We love having you guys here every day. Thank you so much. I'm Eric Rhodes, publisher and founder of Fine Art Connoisseur and Plein Air magazine. Stay positive. Keep your head in the game. Don't let anything get you down. We will all get through this together. Make sure to leave a comment before you go so that you're in the running to win that book. Make more money selling your art. Take care. Bye-bye.